All right, welcome everybody to our Tech Talk today, the do's and don'ts of Teams live events for customer and vendor engagements. Thank you for bearing with us these few extra minutes we needed to get started. I'm sure Mark will share that, our adventure here with you as he goes through the do's and don'ts. So a little bit of background before I introduce our topic and our speaker. I wanted to talk about these Tech Talks briefly. So a Tech Talk is in the spirit of our industry event, the Experts Conference, and it is pure Active Directory and Office 365 training, no third-party pitches. And to give you a little bit more details about what the Experts Conference is, this is an event that we hold every year. We're hosting it in November of this year, November 17th and 18th. We are really excited about this. We brought it back after a 7-year hiatus last year. We had a sold-out event. And we're really excited about this year because not only do we have a hybrid Active Directory security track and Office 365 track, we also have a migration and modernization track. We'll also carve out time for networking and interacting with those industry experts and peers that you want to hear from, folks like Randy Franklin-Smith, Sean Metcalf, Chris McNulty, David Kennedy. Our speaker today, Mark Rackley, who will be there. The speakers at this event range from those folks that I just mentioned, Microsoft employees, and lots of other Microsoft MVPs and industry experts. This will be held in Atlanta, Georgia. Right now, we're optimistic about COVID-19 and will be contained before Tech 2020. But we also understand this is a new experience for everyone. So we're planning for every possibility for having a safe and healthy event, live event, as well as also offering a full refund to anyone who requests it by November 3rd, 2020. That way you can take advantage of any of the early bird discounts. And then for those Quest customers, we're actually added a pre-conference day. It's November 16th, and this is very much focused on the Quest 80 recovery and 80 auditing portfolios and running through some hands-on labs. But the event itself, so 17th and 18th, is just that pure training. So let's get into the Tech Talk today. So I want to introduce our speaker. Mark Rackley is a longtime Microsoft MVP. He is a partner and chief strategy officer at Pate Group and has more than 25 years of experience designing and developing software solutions. I've worked with Mark for many years around SharePoint, started there with SharePoint, and then obviously here with Office 365 and Teams. He is definitely recognized as a SharePoint geek. He's an active blogger, a presenter, author. He is also the organizer of the North American Collaboration Summit. So he also puts on his own industry event, and he will be talking about that today as well. So Mark is going to walk us through the do's and don'ts of Teams live events, what to do here. And I'm going to turn it over to him. And if you have questions, but just put those in the Q&A and I will manage those and we'll save most of the questions until the end. Okay, so Mark, I'm going to send your feed live. Are we ready?
We are ready.
All right.
Oh.
I sent you live.
Okay. Go on live. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. And again, the interesting parts of getting started this morning will make a great talking point for our presentation today. So anybody has any questions along the way, please stop and ask. And I need to switch my slide settings. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts of live events. And as I do this more and more, there's so many more do's and so many more don'ts. So we'll see if we can add to them as we go. Jen did a great introduction for me already. My name is Mark Rackley. I do work for a company called Pay Group, where we do Office 365 and Teams consulting. I do development, speaking. I'm known for liking bacon, so I stay busy in this space. So feel free to reach out to me with any questions after the fact. Feel free to check out my blog or reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Jen also mentioned that I do have my own conference. It is called the North American Collaboration Summit, and this is a community event. So it is, we have speakers from all over the world, actually. We have a lot of MVPs that come in from like Europe and Canada and come present, and we do this in Branson, Missouri, which is kind of like smack dab in the middle of the country. I live near Branson, Missouri. I'm passionate about this part of the country. It's part of the country that doesn't get to see this type of technology often. So I love doing this event. I try to make it a lot of fun. It's a multi-day event. We do full day workshops. Quest is one of our sponsors. So thank you guys so much for sponsoring. You can register today for our September event, and you can use the coupon code QUEST to get a $50 discount to get that down even cheaper. Like I said, it's a community event, nonprofit event. We just charge as little as possible to cover our costs. And kind of the impetus for this session was the original dates for my conference were April 2nd of this year. And with COVID happening, and that was kind of like right around the time frame that it just really exploded. So I had about 2 weeks notice before I had to shut down the conference and move the dates. So we already had over 300 people register for the conference. It was 2 weeks before the event. And you know, that soon out, you've already paid all your bills. So it wasn't like I had the option of just saying, let's not do it. So I had to think, how can I still do this event this year, give these people that have already paid to attend something to look forward to. So I thought, I'm going to do a live event. So I did a live event for our conference on April 2nd. And we had 2 tracks running. We had a developer track, and then we kind of had a track for everybody else. And from our full day conference of doing that, I got kind of, you know, the fire hose learning about live events and how they work and how quickly and easily they are to get set up. So based on those learnings, we just thought talking to Jen, we thought we'd put together this session so we can help you guys if you're thinking of hosting a Teams live event. So we're going to talk about, you know, what is a live event briefly and how do they differ from Teams meetings, because maybe you don't need a live event, maybe you just need a Teams meeting. I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to configure your environment, and then we'll go through some do's and don'ts, and I'll even, you know, walk you through creating an event so you can see what that looks like. Again, if you guys have any questions along the way, ask them in the Q&A panel, and Jen, feel free to interrupt me with questions. I don't mind being interrupted. So yeah, here we go. Any questions before I get started?
Not right now, thank you.
Okay. So essentially, a Teams live event, it's a way that you can broadcast video and media to up to 10,000 people. And right now, Microsoft has set in place where you can actually, through July 1st, set up a Teams live event for up to 100,000 people. I'll make this slide deck available to you guys after the fact. I have some links and contents in there. But if you have Microsoft Teams, you do have Teams live events as an option to go and set those up. So when you're looking at Teams meetings versus live events, it really helps to understand kind of the differences between the two when you want to configure those and when you should. So I put together this table to think of the important points that you want to look at when you're thinking of doing a Teams event. And so I'll actually go through these because some of these are pretty important. You know, when you're creating a live event, it's important to note that a live event is for you to present something. It is not meant for collaboration. It's not meant for your attendees to really engage with other attendees or to, you know, even necessarily be heard or give their feedback. So in live events, there is no open chat. The attendees can't talk among themselves. They use a moderated Q&A. Also within a Teams meeting, you can see the list of participants if you're a participant, but you can't see that in live events. You don't know who else is there. This actually, I think, is a good thing. Let's say you're doing a live event, and let's say it's a sponsored live event, and you have sponsors attending the live event. You may not want them seeing a list of everybody who's in the meeting because some sponsors may say, hey, I now know who to reach out to and try to contact. So actually, it's kind of a good thing. You can join both Teams and live meetings as anonymous users, so that's good to know. It's very easy to join Teams meetings and Teams live events. I think Microsoft has really done an amazing job just recently of making it really seamless to join those experiences. Because live meetings are meant for broadcasting to attendees, the attendees can't use their webcams and they can't talk. So you don't have those communications with attendees. Another thing is in Teams meetings, if you give attendee a role as a presenter, they can mute the speaker and they can also present content. And maybe that's something you don't want to do. So if you don't want your attendees to be able to mute the presenter or present content, you actually have to set their role as an attendee role. And that's not on by default when you create a meeting. A big one for us is the maximum number of attendees, because in a Teams meeting, you can only have 250 people, where in those live events, you can have 10,000. And like I said, for a limited time, you can have up to 100,000. So that's typically going to be a really big differentiator for people. You can record both Teams and live events, and but the good thing about live events is you do have some reporting after the fact that you can see the attendee engagement report, you can see a question and answer report. And right now you don't get those with Teams meetings. At this moment, you don't get those with Teams meetings. So I kind of thought, well, let's kind of break it down. Let's say, what are some differentiators to help you decide if you want to do a live event or not? So I would say, if your attendees do not need to present any content, if you don't need to interact with those attendees live, that's a good reason to use live events. If you have more than 250 attendees, you need to use live events. If attendees don't need to talk or share video, if you don't need reporting at this time, I should say, and if you don't want attendees to see other attendees' names. The thing about live events, I think, that makes it a good differentiator over meetings is you have a lot more control over the attendee experience. You don't have to forget to change someone's role from attendee to presenter. You do get a nice producer view that Jen is looking at right now to help actually control the flow of the experience. So it's a much more controlled environment. So if you're a control freak like me, then maybe you want to look at doing a live event. So I'm going to quickly show you guys how to configure your tenant for live events. And then I'm going to show you guys how you can actually create a live event. So again, any questions before I jump over?
No, we are good right now.
Okay. So within your Teams Admin Center, which you can get to by going to admin.teams.microsoft.com, you're going to have a section for meetings. And under meetings, you're going to have a section called Live Event Policies. And from here, you can open up your policies and see your options for configuring those policies for live events. So you can see here that you have just a few options. It's very easy to set up. Do you want to allow scheduling? Do you want to allow transcription for the attendees? And this is the biggie, who can join the scheduled live event? So you can make it to where everyone can join, so anonymous people can join, just people in your organization or specific users or groups. So you have some control over granularity over who can join those scheduled live events. And then you can also have the option for recording, who can record an event. The organizer can record, they never record, and always record. Very few settings. If you basically want to come in here, say who can join, save it, and you're good to go through live events.
Hey, Mark, we have a question came in. I'll interrupt here.
Sure.
Someone's asking if you can have a video concurrent with slide presentation in a live event. Is that a setting you have to set? Is that a possibility?
A video concurrent, like if you want to play a video in your slide deck?
Let's go with both, whether it's video in your slide deck or your own video of your live webcam.
So yeah, you can actually set me up to have, if you want to, in your presenter view, on the left-hand side, you should see actually, I've got a slide here I can jump to so you can see. So here's what the presenter sees, or the producer sees during the event. And if you see down here at, why does it keep? If you see down here on the left-hand side underneath these two options, One of those is for how you want to present the content. And if you choose the one with the right-hand panel, it will show the webcam view of the person speaking. So Jen, if you click that right now, I think it'll actually start showing my webcam, if I'm not mistaken.
I selected it. You are also a producer, or maybe not. Maybe you're a
No, I'm not a producer.
Ah,
I don't
okay.
have that producer view.
Okay, I see it. I just am not. I'm
Okay.
not as proficient as Mark. This is why Mark is leading the session.
Sorry. So it is possible to show the video of the person presenting along with their slides. I thought you were talking about showing videos like playing, because that's something that I was going to get to. I'll get into that. If that's your question, I'll get into that later on a different slide.
Yeah, he clarified, or he or she clarified, a video of the speaker.
Okay, thank you. So yes, video of the speaker is possible. So once you've got your settings set the way you want for live events, you can go into Teams. And when you go to your calendar within Teams, you're going to see a button on the top right to do a new meeting. If you do the drop-down list, you're going to see that you have the option to do a live event. So if you click on live event, it's going to bring up a dialog where you can put a title for your event. So let's go ahead and create one. We'll call this Mark's TEC Talk, and give it a time and location. You can give it some meeting details, and then you have the option to invite presenters. So I can invite other people to be presenters. They don't have to be people in my organization. They can be outside our organization. So I'll just add some people here. So I'm going to invite Stephanie here as a presenter. So you can see when you type in someone's address, it adds them as a presenter, but you can actually change their role to producer if you want to. And like I said, the producer has some extra capabilities to be able to control the event. If you really wanted to, you could add all of your presenters as producers as well. And I think you can have up to 10 presenters, if I'm not mistaken, total. So once you set up your producers and presenters and get those invited, you click next, and it's going to ask you what type of permissions do you want to do. So you can set up a live event for only specific people and groups, an org-wide event where sign is required, or a public event. And if it's a public event, no sign-in is required, and people can actually join anonymously if they want to. You also choose how do you want to produce the event. Do you want to make the recording available to producers and presenters? Do you want to do captions? I believe this is going to be tied to your licensing, whether you can do captions or not. Also, you can choose whether to enable Q&A, which I highly recommend. And also if you want to produce an attendee engagement report, which I think is great too, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So once you have everything set up, you simply schedule your event. And at this time, I've not invited any attendees. It's just scheduled my event. So you can see after it's scheduled, it brings us up to another dialogue. And in this dialogue, there is an option here to get an attendee link. So when you're inviting attendees, you do it by getting the attendee link and then emailing that to all the attendees that you want to attend, and they will click on that link to invite them. You don't want to invite them as an organizer or as a producer or anything. You use this attendee link. You don't want to forward them the link that the presenters and the producers get. Okay, so just make sure that's a kind of I don't love the way this works. I wish there was a way to kind of invite attendees the way you invite presenters and do it all in one step. But the way this works now, I have to get the attendee link, and then I have to go into my calendar, create a new meeting, and email out that meeting to everybody who wants to join. So if you want to actually then, after you've copied the link, sent your email out, you've got your event in your calendar and your meetings, you can always click on it to see what's going on with it. You can get the attendee link again if you want it, or you can click on edit. And if you click on edit, this allows you to add other producers or presenters to your event and change the other information. It's also important to note that if you have producers or presenters, you need to add them before you actually start the meeting. Once the meeting is started, the option to invite presenters and producers is not there. And yeah, and that's pretty much all there is to getting your meeting scheduled, getting it set up. When you're ready for the meeting to start, you would just go and start the event. And like I said, the producer will see a view, as you see in this slide here. And in this slide, the producer has the option to see who the presenters are, and they can see what content is currently being shared. So currently in this screenshot, my desktop was being shared, and the producer that can choose to stage things in the queue. So this queue is where the producer's about to put something live, or it could be also what's currently live, but it gives them the option to start the event and also send specific content live. So while I'm speaking, if there was another person about to present, Jen would be able to queue them up in the queue so that when I'm done, she can click send on the send live and that person's screen will then be live. So that other presenter could already be sharing their screen. No one's going to see it though until Jen sends them live. So it gives her control over the experience that you guys see. You can also see over here on the right hand side, she has option to see a meeting chat. So the people can chat, the producers can chat between themselves. There's also a Q&A moderation panel here, and there's some other options she can do as a producer. So she kind of has control to do whatever she wants to here. So any questions about any of that? Okay.
Here, I'm sorry. Here, there's a question. Is there a way to give an attendee an add to my calendar option instead of sending out the calendar invite with the link, which is what I had to do?
Yeah, I don't know anyway. And I think that's actually one of the things people are requesting to be modified in user voice is give them that ability. I mean, you could create if you want to go through the process of creating an ICS file and doing something like that for your users so they could just click on and add it. But out of the box, no, there's no way.
Do you know, is that something that Microsoft is looking at?
Like I said, check user voice. I know it's something that people are requesting. I'm not positive about the current status of it at this moment. So after you've done your meeting, after you've done your event, and after you've ended your event, you do have options to look at some reports. And these reports they're fairly basic, but they are pretty helpful. So one of these reports is your attendee engagement report. And in the attendee engagement report, you can see a participant and when they entered and left the event. So if they joined early and left early and then went outside to go for a walk and come back later, you would know that they were absent for a while. If a person joins anonymously, you will see a empty section for the ID and name. So you'll know that somebody came and left, but you won't know who it is. So there's no way of knowing that if someone joins anonymously.
That's a good point. In fact, I'm going to interrupt here. We've had quite a few people ask about CPE credits for this, which is excellent. But I think a lot of people also joined anonymously. So I think what he's showing here is if you join anonymously, I won't be able to send you any any kind of proof of attendance. So check out one of the Q&As for how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, and you could even if you want to, you could even leave and come back and sign in if it's that important to you. But yeah, and it's truly anonymous. If you join anonymously, I have no easy way of tracking you down to find out if you participated or not, because all I have is the session ID, user agent, timestamp, and then blank for participant ID and full name.
So one other question here that came in, not related to the attendee engagement report, but I'll ask it anyways. How does the producer view compare to something like a WebEx event?
So the producer view, I've used WebEx just a couple of times and nothing recently, but I had one of my speakers when I did my event say they highly prefer the speaker view for Teams live events because In that producer view, in the speaker view, we can see the webcams for all the other presenters and producers on a different monitor. So one of the recommendations in my do's is if you're a presenter or a producer, have 2 monitors up, because in that presenter view and in that producer view, I can see everybody else who's presenters and the producer. So we get visual feedback from those people. A lot of people like to see people when they present, because it's really hard to do a webinar and get 0 feedback. I don't know if you guys are asleep right now. I don't know if you're making faces at me, but simply having that view where I can see other people's faces and get some sort of reaction from them, it really helps. And one of my speakers said that she loved that about Teams Live events, and she thought that made it worth it right there, just to be able to get that feedback while she was speaking.
And I think one of the things you had mentioned to me, Mark, was also the staging. I've used WebEx events several times, and I don't recall there being the staging option. So when you do have to flip between presenters and you have to pass the ball, there's a little bit of lag time in that transition.
Yeah. Oh, and I also should point out that when you're doing live events, as I'm speaking, there's about a 30-second delay until you guys actually hear it. So if you're testing this stuff out on your own before you do it, you have maybe maybe you've joined as an attendee in one place and a presenter in another place, you're going to notice that that's just common to be a 20 to 30-second lag between when you talk and people actually see it.
And one other comment here that actually somebody just put in here, and I thought maybe you could make it talk to this, Mark, because someone said this is not a question. I just want to mention that it is very useful that in a Teams Live event, I can pause this, go deal with an ad hoc thing, someone at the door, and then can use the ×2 speed to catch back up. This is something I often need in other webinars.
Well, that's actually, and this is something that I've never done before. That's excellent. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So cool. I hope that wasn't an anonymous person that said that.
It was an anonymous person, and another anonymous person said, definitely not asleep. This is great.
Thank you. So in addition to the attendee engagement report, you also get a Q&A report. So if people are asking questions, you do have a report that will give you the source of whether it's an attendee or a moderator, whether it's a question or response. You get the person's name, but you notice it does say like unverified. So you could actually join as somebody else's name, and you can't really, so you could I could have put Bill Gates in here as an identity and asked a question, but then you have the question and the answers too. So you do have that report as well. And it's by default Q&A is turned off. I do recommend you turn it on. It's just a good way for the attendees to be able to give some feedback. So let's get into some do's and don'ts for some of the things that I learned. The biggest one is to do a tech check with all your speakers. I cannot stress this one enough. When I did my event, we did a tech check the day before, and we had one of our speakers who, no matter what, it would always throw him into the event as an attendee. And we tried different machines, different applications. It always threw him in as an attendee. And to actually get him to be able to log in as a speaker, we actually had to add him to our tenant as a user and give him that account to use. And that's not, that's obviously not something that's common. Hopefully it was just a bug, but you can't find those things. You don't want to find those things out on the day of, right? It's stressful. Like I even found out another one that common sense kicked me today as we were joining this conference. Jen actually invited me through one of my other tenants that I actually use for my personal use, and not through my Pate Group tenant, which I have on all the time. And because I was logged into my Pate Group tenant in Teams, when I clicked on the link to join as a presenter, it threw me in as an attendee, even though I had the presenter link. Because I was not logged into that account, it threw me in there as an attendee. So I had to quickly sign out of that Teams tenant, sign into Teams again as my other tenant, click on the link then, and then it allowed me to pop in correctly as the presenter. And these are all type of things that will be uncovered if you do a full tech check before your event. So I can't stress it enough. Do the tech check before the event. Enable Q&A. Again, so you don't have that open chat in Teams Live events, attendees need to be able to ask questions and get feedback. So I definitely recommend that. One of the things we did for our event was we did a Q&A panel. So at the end of the day, and this is one of the things our attendees like the most, at the end of the day, we actually took the presenter view that you're seeing here and we moved it into the content that was being shared so that the attendees could actually see all of the speakers talking. So they could ask questions and then they would see all the speakers down here talking, having discussion, and it felt much more interactive to them and they really appreciated that. So we had a lot of great feedback that people like to see all the speakers at once when they were asking their questions. So it's a great way to interact with your attendees. So I definitely recommend that one. So provide content during your any intermissions. If you're going to be away from a while, or if you've got multiple sessions set out throughout the day, and maybe you're gonna so maybe not start your event right on time, maybe start at 5 minutes early and play some sort of video so that people can see the some content on. What we did for our event is between sessions, we actually played some commercials for some of our sponsors. So the sponsors got some extra benefit out of it and the attendees had something to watch and they got to learn about some of their products and stuff as well. Enable your webcam and share your webcam. People like to see faces. It keeps them more engaged. Although people like me have a face for radio, so maybe it's a good thing you're not seeing me on camera right now. Absolutely critical for producers and presenters is to have multiple monitors. You want to be able to see that presenter view. You want to be able to see your producer, and you want to be able to share your content at the same time and have a clear view of both. So definitely do it with multiple monitors. Another thing to consider is to have a dedicated producer. Don't try to produce and present your own live event. It's a stressor you don't want. Having Jen there to worry about everything makes it where I can just present my content. I don't have to worry about any of it. And she has control to help, like I said, make things live. If there's any communication glitches, or she can moderate that Q&A while I talk. I don't have to keep glancing over to see if someone's asking a question. So make sure you have a dedicated producer. The other thing that we did for our event, which was very helpful, is to have some sort of back channel for communication. If the mics are hot all the time, so if I'm speaking and there's any other presenters and they're unmuted, even though they're not displaying, if they're talking, we can hear it. Like you can hear Jen. If there was speakers talking, you would hear them as well. So if something pops up urgently, they may not see that little chat window in the moderator in the panel. So we actually had another chat application up and running on one of our separate screens that we could have communications in case something popped up urgent, or we wanted to talk about transitions, or if we had, I was even able to answer some questions as they were being asked in that back channel. So consider having some sort of back channel that's not live events for communicating between your speakers and your producer. Any questions before I move on?
Not right now.
Okay. So a few don'ts. Again, don't forget to do a tech check. It's a do to do one. It's a don't to not forget it. It's probably the most important one. And I did notice, so you see my first bullet point here, that audio cannot be streamed from videos. I did notice today, whenever I went to go live, it had an option for me to share my system audio. So I think that is brand new. Not sure what day that was rolled out, but it's rolled out after April 2nd. So that first bullet point is no longer true. Whenever you go to share your content, you should see a checkbox that says to allow streaming of media. If it's not there yet on your tenant, it just means it hasn't rolled out to you yet. But I did notice that today when I shared my content. If you don't have the ability to share your audio yet, then you can use some tools. Like there's a tool that I found that allows you to take your speaker output and makes your computer recognize it as a microphone input. So you can actually get system audio that way. So if you're playing like YouTube videos for commercials or some other video between your sessions, you'll want to do that. Again, don't speak while others are presenting because all mics are live. I would also say don't have multiple producers, because again, that producer can be in charge of what goes live. And if you've got two people trying to queue content or send things live and they start stepping on each other's toes, that could give a fragmented experience to your attendees. So, unless your producers coordinate beforehand, or they're just really laid back like Jen is, and they're like, yeah, whatever, do what you need to do. Don't have too many cooks in the kitchen there. That could get things kind of sloppy. One of the limitations with Teams live events is you cannot schedule an event for longer than 4 hours. So if you want to, if you're having an all-day event, you need to think about how can you break that up. So our event was actually 9 hours. So we had to break it up into 3 different sections. So we did a morning Teams event, we did an afternoon Teams event, and then we did a third one that was just an hour, which is kind of the closing with an open Q&A. So if you want to do something longer than 4 hours, you do have to plan ahead for that. Also, don't end the meeting too soon. Don't accidentally click end meeting. Once the meeting has ended, you can't restart it. So once it's done, it's done. And again, when you're adding the presenters and producers to your meeting, make sure you add them before the meeting actually gets started. You can't add them after it gets started. Any questions?
No, we had a lot of questions earlier, but I don't see any new ones right now.
Okay. Well, that's all I had. So yeah, so it ended up being a really good experience for us to do live events for this community event. We're actually going to be doing it again at some point. So, you know, again, check out my conference if you want to maybe be a part of that live event, or come see us in September. It is a lot of fun. Jen, what's your experience doing this live event? I mean, do you have any thoughts or comments for everybody about your experiences using it?
So, yeah, this is definitely my first live event that I've done. I'll admit. So I worked with Mark ahead of time to get some of his do's and don'ts. I worked with our IT system to make sure that they could turn on public live events for me, because it's not something we've rolled out to everybody. And it's been a pretty smooth experience. I've used lots of other platforms. It's just as stressful in the sense of it's a live event, so you want everything to go smoothly, but it's very intuitive for being my first time with it. I like it. I love the idea that somebody can walk away and then come back and then listen to it twice as fast just to catch back up. I think that's a really cool feature that I haven't seen elsewhere. And I know personally when I'm watching webcasts how distracted I can get. So it's a great feature to get caught back up.
Well, I don't know how I feel about the best tip for the entire session being coming from one of the attendees. So, but yeah, that's a great tip. The other thing that I liked about live events is that I didn't hear from anybody that they had problems connecting. So it seemed to be pretty seamless for people actually connecting and getting audio and video and not having issues there. The one issue we ran into is that Q&A stopped working for some of the attendees, and they actually had to leave and come back for Q&A to start working for them again. So I don't know, don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but that is something that we did see happen.
Yeah, I would have to say on like the WebEx platform, we tend to get a lot of the I can't see anything, I can't hear anything. And we only had one issue of that, and the person just logged out, logged back in, and everything was fine. So that I think the people's ability to log in successfully will be much higher here on Teams live events. I do want to say some people are asking about the recordings. This recording will be available. We are going to put it on our Quest.com site, quest.com/theexpertsconference. I put the link in the Q&A under an announcement. So obviously this one isn't there now, but you can see the other 2 tech talks we've done. And about every 2 weeks we do a tech talk, just like this, just pure education. We will post those there a few days later once we. So look for this there, and if you logged in, with your user ID and email, I will also be sending you the recording of this afterwards.
Oh, and one last thing I forgot to mention in the session is if you're a presenter or a producer, you have to be using the desktop client. You can't use a web client if you're a presenter or producer. So if you're having issues joining as a presenter or producer, make sure you're trying to join via the client.
Okay, Mark, we do have a few questions that came in when we were talking.
Okay.
How do you queue up tasks presentations?
Tasks presentations.
So probably in the producer view.
So the way the producer view works is that one of the speakers will be sharing their content, and Jen has the option to click on the content that is being shared. So you see on the slide that only I was sharing at this point, but if there were other presenters sharing, she would have the option to click on whoever was sharing that she wanted to queue up. And when she clicks on it, it'll bring it into the queue. And then she clicks on the send live to send live, and it sends whatever the presenter is presenting from whatever they're sharing. It's the same sharing options that you have in Teams meetings too. So I can share an application, or I can share my entire screen, which is what I was doing for this, was sharing my screen. Was that answering the question?
I think so. Here's one other one. Is Teams capable enough to reliably play a pre-recorded video? So we lightly touched on this earlier. Will it lag under normal conditions, or do we expect it to work fine when all attendees have good connections?
Yeah, so again, for my conference, I did commercials that had audio and video playing. I actually had it uploaded as a YouTube video, and then I played it. I played the YouTube video full screen on my machine, and I was watching as an attendee from another screen. I never saw any lags. I never heard anybody say they had a problem with lag for the video. So at least for me, looking at it from an attendee from another computer right next to me, I had the audio and the video were smooth. And these were like fully produced commercials, some of them with people talking and high quality. So.
All right, that sounds good. And then just someone else made a comment that live events is not available in government tenants. Do you have any experience with that, Mark? Or?
And a lot of these features just aren't rolled out to GCC or the government tenants yet. So it's, you'd have to look at the roadmap to find out when it's going to be available. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, though.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I see here. I don't know if anyone saw the news. I think 2 days ago now, Microsoft did their earnings call, and they said that they're up to 200 million meeting participants. They had 200 million meeting participants in a single day, generating 4.1 billion meeting minutes. And then Teams now has more than 75 million daily active users, and that's up from 44 million daily active users in March. So I just thought I would share a couple of those numbers. I think that's the extremely high adoption going on right now.
Oh, it's crazy.
So it is. So Mark, I appreciate you attending. I appreciate all the questions that have come through here. People are definitely really interested. Definitely really interested in this. In fact, let me ask one more question. It just came in. Is there a way to enable a live camera switching in Teams live events like how it behaves in Skype?
No, that's something I wish it did. I have a whole wish list for things I wish it did. Yeah, that's one of them.
All right. Well, great. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise. Good luck with the North America Collaboration Summit. Quest is a sponsor. We're excited about that event, and we're excited about our event in November, the Experts Conference, where Mark will be speaking as well. And thank you for the attendees today for your time and attention. We'll send out the recording later, or you can go to quest.com/theexpertsconference and find the recordings there. Thank you, everybody, for your participation.
Thanks, everybody.